So, attention please, lunchtime finished, and our next presenter and speaker will be Mr. Jevgenijs Oborins from LGS, that is Latvian ANS. Jevgenijs has graduated as an avionics engineer from the Civil Aviation Engineering Institute in Riga, and since then he works in civil aviation. He has got his Doctor of Science Engineering degree in Air Transport Maintenance and Master of Science in Pedagogical Psychology. He has experience as instructor and course designer in CNS, Safety Management, Human Factors. Jevgenijs is ICAO certified trainer plus course developer and ICAO authorized trainer plus expert. At present works, as said, in Latvian ANS. So, Jevgenijs, please.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues. My presentation is dedicated to the current status of communication, navigation and surveillance system in the context of previous development, taking into account of the experience we have gained from implementation of various concepts, programs, and so on. CNS services, communication, navigation, and surveillance, play very important role, as well as air traffic services or aeronautical information services, all other components of the ANS ATM system. It supports air traffic services, first of all, especially communication and surveillance, and navigation is some kind of direct service for aircraft navigation function provided by air navigation services provider. Aviation and air navigation services is enough conservative field of operations, so we have some veteran systems among CNS systems. We have celebrated 65 years old system for aeronautical fixed telecommunication network, 1st of March this year, but also we had a chance to celebrate just 20 years of full operational capability of GPS, for example. We have very old system, but still working, veteran system, VHF radio, instrument landing system, VUAR, DME, also 55 years will be 1st of January for VUAR, DME, so you have a chance to celebrate. In the context of Single European Sky initiative, communication, navigation, and surveillance systems are considered as functional systems constituting European air traffic management network together with air traffic services, air traffic flow management, and airspace management, and other. But communication, navigation, surveillance is some kind of core of supporting functions, not operational, but supporting functions. Sorry. Looking at the history of the CNS system development, we see that significant changes in the field occurred within concept on global ATM development. And we can name or remember at least three global concepts dedicated to air traffic management development and developed, designed and produced by IKEA. The first concept was CNS ATM concept. Initially, it was known as FENS concept. Actually, the term CNS provided to us by this concept, because before that we had just communication services, air traffic services, communication services. So we didn't have air traffic management before CNS ATM. We just have air navigation services composing from 4 parts. One of the part was air traffic, communication. So the first concept was IKEA, CNS ATM, and the next one is also a global concept produced or developed by IKEA. ATM, global operational concept, and we live in the stage of development of this concept, and the last one, the current concept, is inside of the global operational ATM concept. It's aviation system block upgrade concept. It's IKEA concept. But we are living in Europe, and we have some specific things regarding development of the CNS and the ATM also, of course. Air traffic management is our consumer of our services. I mean CNS services. We passed through at least 2 development programs in Europe. We had EAC program, European Air Traffic Control Harmonization and Integration Program. Then we participated in implementation of European Air Traffic Management Program, and currently we are dealing with Single European Sky ATM Research, CESAR program, and this year is year for starting of deployment phase. So 20 years ago, 1995, we had start of implementation of CNS ATM systems, actually, because of GPS, because of Fence 1 airborne equipment and some other things. So 20 years between these dates, 2 different concepts, and we start a new stage of development. The first name of the CNS ATM produced by CNS ATM concept was Communication, Navigation and Surveillance Systems, employing digital technologies, including satellite systems, together with various levels of automation applied in support of seamless global air traffic management system. So this definition was given in about 1990 by FENS 2 committee, and we can check now, do we have digital systems? Yes, so we have, especially for ground purposes, we have even voice, we have digitized voice. We almost don't have analog signals in ground. So this definition is still actual. In this slide, I tried to indicate the major changes to show the major systems implemented in the CNS field starting from 1995. Maybe the most important thing was achievement of full operational capability by GPS, by global positioning system, because in CNS ATM system we have just a goal to have satellite navigation, but IKEA could not produce own or civil positioning system based on satellite constellations. And in 1995, two countries proposed to IKEA their systems, GPS and GLONASS, and full operational capability was supported all these years only by GLONASS, by GPS, of course, GPS. In the same year, Fence 1 airborne equipment was implemented by Qantas on Boeing 747, and this equipment provided capability for controller pilot data link communication and automatic dependent surveillance contract. So very important things actually. That's why I put airborne equipment here, no, not ground, but CNS, normally we have ground subsystem and airborne subsystem. In 1998, basic area navigation was mandatory became mandatory in European airspace, and then 8.33 kilohertz channel spacing, also a very important step to improve, to increase number of VHF channels. And of course, MODES surveillance, MODES radar provided a lot of functionalities for NSPs, for users, for airlines, elementary and enhanced surveillance. MODES supports collision avoidance, ACAS. And by the way, last year we were obliged to implement the next version of software for TICAS, for airborne TICAS, TICAS 7.1. So MODES, surveillance MODES radars and functionalities related to this implementation changed CNS world significantly. Also, we moved to integrated system. One example of integrated system is advanced surface movement guidance and control system, which is very popular now, and I think in Tallinn you have also ASMGCS, and actually this system pushed implementation of surface movement radar and multilateration as kind of surveillance. And finally, airborne based augmentation system, satellite-based augmentation system, and ground-based augmentation systems, all these systems for GNSS, Global Navigation System, for GPS mainly, were implemented, so we use it. So this is indicators for previous 20 years. Of course, we can add more, because many things were changed for these 20 years. Development and implementation of the new CNS systems are accompanied by development of the CNS performance requirements. Initially, we have requirements for individual system. For example, you have to have at least 3 global navigation sensors on board if you want to cross Atlantics and so on. But then we got required performance. So the next level, required navigation performance, required communication performance, and required surveillance performance. Required surveillance performance was not implemented, but the idea existed. This step forward actually resulted in producing number of specifications for communication system, for navigation system. In Europe, we have implemented BIRNAV, then we were going to implement PIRNAV and so on. So the next step became performance-based CNS services, performance-based navigation, performance-based communication, and performance-based surveillance. What is the difference between required performance and performance-based? Performance-based services are described by a set of specifications. And you have specifications, you have applications, you have infrastructure. I am using example from performance-based navigation, but currently a new version of IKEA DOC 9869 required communication performance is under editing, and the new version will have name performance-based communication and performance-based surveillance. So the idea is, and CNS are a part of airspace concept. So current situation with performance requirement for CNS. Of course, 20 years resulted in development, in evolution of technologies. Most of all electronic components technology, signal processing technologies, and networking technologies, design technologies. So I put three pictures, similar radar, primary surveillance radar, 80s, then middle of 90s, and modern radar, all with similar performance, but you can see that the youngest is smallest, compact, and so on. CNS services and CNS systems faced with some unexpected challenges. The most, I think it's my opinion, that the most big or serious challenge is jamming of GNSS signals, because proliferation of jammers designed to defeat vehicle tracking systems. So drivers don't want to be tracked, so they put some jammers on their tracks, lorries, and in some cases you don't have coverage, you don't have normal signal for GPS. It is enough serious problem. Also, rapid development of unmanned aircraft systems. They are controlled also by radio. So this radio also produce interferences to DME, for example, to GNSS, to secondary surveillance radar. This is also a problem. And finally, but maybe the first, historically first problem was wind turbines. I think in Estonia also you have some turbines, and the systems, CNS systems, which are using Doppler effect, it is not good turbines for them. So it was not expected. We believed that GNSS is the best system, but actually now the trend is to keep, for example, VOR, some set of VORs. Of course, the DMEs keep just in case, for a case if you will have lost GNSS signal. By the way, last year, this year in summer, maybe you didn't notice, but in Moscow air traffic zone, GPS signal was lost for 10 minutes in midnight, and about 8 10 aircraft reported problem with GNSS GPS guidance. So it is serious. Sorry. Future developments of CNS in Europe is determined by CESAR, by Single European Sky Team Research Program. And speaking about future of the CNS, we have to say that communication technologies shall provide better voice, but we still keep VHF radio, but normally ground voice is digital, and also communication technologies mostly are in the field of networking. We had a lot of networks, but if we speak about the trend is IP network providing all other services as application, MHS, aeronautical message handling services, and access to European AIS database, and so all services, IP network. And SWIM, System-Wide Information Management, it is future, and it requires communication. In the field of navigation, we expect implementation of 4-dimensional trajectories, and we need, for example, accuracy of time of arrival to some point. We expect within 10 seconds. It's one of the goals of navigation technologies in CESAR. And speaking about surveillance technologies, we speak about multi-sensor surveillance. We speak about air-to-air surveillance, and we expect some new modes of separation. Currently, we have horizontal and vertical separation, but we expect some new, and these modes of separation for air traffic controllers will be supported by new surveillance systems. Speaking about future, I put free space here. You see between maybe 25 and 35, because now we have 2015, 20 years ahead will be 2035. I cannot predict in details, because a lot of you will have possibility to check my words, my fidelity. So I speak only about visible things. Of course, multi-sensor surveillance, IP network supporting SWIM, voice over IP, at least for ground-ground communications, but in future for air-ground communication also. We expect multi-constellation, multi-frequency, global navigation surveillance system. Currently we have GPS and GLONASS, but Beidou, Chinese Beidou is coming, and then Galileo. We wait Galileo about 20 years already, but finally I think it will come. And we expect global satellite-based augmentation system coverage. Currently we have reliable coverage in USA by wide area augmentation system, and also good coverage by EGNOS in Europe, and Gagan from India is coming, and SDKM from Russia also is coming. So finally we will have GNSS with a satellite-based augmentation system worldwide. And also GBus, ground-based augmentation system, provided precision approach, category 2 and 3. At the moment in Frankfurt, just bus category 2 is in trial mode, so maybe it will be available. Otherwise, the oldest system we have, ILS, from IKEA birthday. We had ILS. Maybe we will see 100 anniversary of ILS, but G-Bus should come. And probably we will have new data links, because current data links are in use 20 years. VDL2 is still developing, but it was a part of CNS-ITM. So 20 years ago, in 1995, we could see a start of implementation, intensive implementation of CNS-ITM systems. And this year, we can see start of deployment, CESAR. 20 years ahead, we will see some more. Thank you.
You, Jevgenijs. And do you have any questions related to the CNS development in Latvia? If not, then I have one, and one is related to the CNS engineer training. And what do you think about, if we look at these systems, then we see that these modern systems are quite similar in the aircraft and on ground. So what do you think? Should the basic training for the engineer should be connected for the avionics engineer and the CNS engineer?
Avionics engineer is closer to safety as a job. He or she has a license for ATSEP, Air Traffic Safety Electronic Personnel is a category of aviation personnel providing maintenance of CNS. We still don't have license, but maybe in Estonia you have national license. Maybe. In Latvia we have license on the provider level. So, and this year we have conducted initial training for our new ASEP. So we have established system for basic training, for initial training. Tomorrow I will close communication qualification course for ATSEP in Latvia. So we have system, but the topic of presentation was CNS development. Another topic could be ATSEP training. Also very important topic, taking into account coming regulation, coming European Commission regulation will substitute 1035 to 2011, and general requirements for INS provider will include or will have also requirements for ATSEP training. So 1 year later or 1.5 years later, we will have mandatory obligatory system for competence of ATSEP, competence. No for licensing, but of course you can put together two systems. I mean avionics. Initially I was trained as avionic engineer, but now I am responsible for ATSEP training in LGS.
Jevgenijs. And our next speaker is Heikki Kunttu from Airline Management Technologies, and he's going to speak about Finnish business and general aviation survival strategies. So, few words about Heikki. Heikki has finished master's studies in Helsinki University 2010, has worked for Airline Management Technologies since 2008, and since 2010 he is responsible for the continuous airworthiness management and also responsible for the Part M and Part 145 technical office. He's a design engineer and a deputy maintenance manager since 2013. Thank you.
So, good afternoon, everybody, and greetings from Helsinki. So I was invited here to tell a little bit about the Finnish general and business aviation and the current problems and difficulties which we have seen there, and then to find out some survival strategies, how to go forward. But first of all, a couple of words of the company, Airline Management Technologies, who we are and what we do. So we do continuing airworthiness management and aircraft maintenance for general aviation, aircraft weighing less than 5,700 kilos, and we also do some modification work for aircraft, and recently we have just started a cooperation with the Promair maintenance with the design organization. So we have a DOA capability now on in our company. We also do ground handling for business aviation and training for aviation professionals. Basically, the training is human factors, fuel tank safety, and training for post holders. We do some consulting, and then we also have our own AOC. Currently, it's used for sightseeing flights in Kuopio and Helsinki, and in Kuopio we do sightseeing flights on float planes. And why in Kuopio? That's the other place where our office and maintenance station is. So we are located in Helsinki and in Kuopio. We have divided our technical service or separated it to under our trade name called Flapland, and this logo is seen there. So if somebody is talking about Flapland, it means the same company, the Airline Management Technologies. We've been in business for 20 years, and we've seen quite a lot of things. Basically, we've had a very good front row seat for the general aviation, and of course, we have also had our own difficulties and problems during the years. So what is the situation now in general aviation in Finland? On these two graphs, we can see the trends, what is happening. So on the left-hand side, you can see the general aviation flight hours from the year 2005 to the 2014. And as you can see, the hours are dropping down. Probably the only one is that is doing quite all right is the ultralight flight hours. They are remaining quite much the same, but all the others are going down in general aviation. And on the right-hand side, we can see that the pilot license are also, the amount of pilot license are also going down. And then also here the exception is the ultra pilot license, which has gradually increased during the years. But the licenses for the type certified aircraft, they are going down all the time. So, and you can see there is a big difference from the 2005 to 2014 on the PPL. It's a couple of hundreds. So the question is why we have these negative trends. Well, the main reason is that all the costs are rising all the time. The fuel price jumped up some years ago from 1.5 euros per liter to 3.5 euros per liter. So then you can imagine what it does to the hourly cost of the aircraft. Then also the airport and navigation fees, authority fees, and even insurance costs are rising. So everything added together, it makes a big difference. And then also maintenance, that is becoming also expensive as all the aircraft, they are gradually getting older and older, and they need more maintenance, and the spare parts, they are all the time more difficult to find, and they are more expensive. So, and there you can see that what is the difference between 2005 and 2015 for the rental price of a Cessna 152, which is a quite small plane. In 2005 it was 85 euros, today it's 135 euros. So, and that's only for a very small two-seater plane, so you can imagine what has happened to the bit bigger aircraft, which is, for example, commercially rented. So these are like a flight club prices. And also the problem in general aviation is that the pilots are getting older and older. We don't really get the new blood into the aviation, basically because of the price, and also for some reason the young people are not that much interested about the flying. And then on the other end, why the pilot licenses are dropping down, is that the old pilots, they are finally losing their medical certificates and the pilot licenses. But one very major problem in a Finnish general aviation is that the current political atmosphere doesn't give any support for the general aviation. The availability of the piston engine fuel, the avgas 100 LL, it's very bad. It's hard to get, and to have it on a small airfields, it's more or less difficult because of all the regulations of the safety and the environment. Also, the airport security has become very tight, and especially when you are flying to some other airports, it might be difficult to access to your aircraft when the aircraft when you are there outside the operating hours, as all the doors are closed and there are high fences and everything. So that has also been a problem for cross-country flying. And that's mainly because Finavia in Finland, who operates the airports, is not really interested about the general aviation at all. Their main focus is in the airline operations. And that's why also Finavia is planning to close, or already have closed, some airports. There are a list of some airports that is in threat of closing, and some that are planned to be closed. And finally, there is one more problem in general aviation, is that there's not really education for piston engines in Finland. That all these Part 147 schools, they aim to the airlines, and they only train the jet engines. So we are really lacking of a piston engine education there, and that will show up in the future in a general aviation. And also what has happened is that they are now in process of closing the only university level aviation education program. So in the future we don't get any master level engineers in Finland. So in the future there's only bachelor level education available in Tampere. So how all this affects to us? So it affects to the whole area of the general aviation. So when there is less people flying, less hours, and with less aircraft, it means that there is less services needed. And because there's less services needed, the existing companies are competing harder and harder against each other. But the problem with this is that when we have these authority-approved organizations, there are still this mandatory work that needs to be done, even though you don't perform any work. So this work doesn't decrease in the same ratio as the other work, profitable work. And when the flying itself has become expensive, we have noticed that the customers are now interested to find the what do you say, the cheaper money from somewhere else, and so they are looking for cheap prices, and in some cases they even do that regardless of the quality, and as long as they get the papers done and stamped, so then they are good to go. And this also means that there is no loyalty existing in general aviation anymore. So it's not unusual that a very long customer jumps to the other company because they are offering the service in a cheaper price. And that again leads to another situation, which is that all the companies trying to push their prices lower and lower, and we end up to the situation that we get very low profit or no profit at all. And still, even though we don't really get any profit, the customer is still whining about the prices. But so, what is the situation in a business aviation then? Well, in Finnish business aviation, the mentality has been quite different compared to, for example, to Sweden. The companies have always been very careful when thinking about the business aviation, because there is all kind of jealousness and these kind of issues involved, and they are scared that the customers are starting talking bad about them as they are spending money on the business flights, and then the customers thinks that they are paying way too much for their services. So for this reason and many other reasons, the companies are choosing the airline flights rather than the charter jet, and not to mention it, to have a own company aircraft. In Finland also, as there's only 5 million people living there, and there's not really a domestic market for business aviation. In the past, Russia has provided us a very good market, and they have given us a lot of possibilities in business aviation. We've been able to market our services with European safety and quality. And but as we all know what has happened in Russia recently, this all has changed, and we are now in a big difficulties in the business aviation, and seems that there is no real solutions in the vicinity. The main problem, like I said, that there is no real domestic market in Finland. The problem is that in that case is that we need to get the financing from abroad. And when we're talking about the business aircraft maintenance, the establishment cost of the maintenance organization, everything, the tooling and the training and etc., it's very expensive, and just for 1 or 2 aircraft, it's impossible to invest that money, because the payback times are very long in that case. So the option is to get the finance also to that abroad, or then to somehow combine it to the bigger entity, like a ground handling or hangar service or something else. But then there are some positive issues. The one is the single-engine IMC operations for turboprop aircraft, which allows us to do the commercial flights on a single-engine turboprop aircraft in IMC conditions. And there also should be another one mentioned in the list, and it's the privatized airports. So there's also plans to privatize some of these airports which are now in a threat of closing are already closed, and with those airports they may create the possibility to do the things differently compared to operating from a Finavia airports. But then, how should we fight back for all this, or fight against all these difficulties? So I would say that we need to evolve in a way that we need to create new ideas, new approach methods to the whole business area. And because the continuing cost reduction, it won't carry much longer. I would say that the key elements, how we would change the whole area is that we start selling solutions, not services anymore. Because the customer is always interested about the solution to their problem. They are not interested to find the service, how to solve the problem, but they want to know the solution right away. So if we are capable to do that, it will help a lot. And this comes to the customer experience in overall. We need to create something that keeps the customer loyal to us. It can be something little, it might be something totally different. For example, we could create some kind of service packages which starts from the purchasing of the aircraft and then maintaining and everything in a way that the customer can totally concentrate on flying, so the customer don't need to worry about the maintenance or any other issues. Then we can also expand our services beyond the traditional aviation, so there is no requirement that we need to stay within the limits. So why don't we put something extra to that? So for example, in a maintenance, why don't we provide like a rental car for the customer that he can drive away when he brings the aircraft for maintenance? There are a lot of opportunities for this kind of services. But the main thing for the customer experience is the flexibility. Because what is most annoying for the customer is that they don't get served when they need some service. And then the marketing is always an issue, and now I think the place where to point the marketing is in young people, because we really need a new blood in aviation, because without the new people, the general aviation will die eventually. Very important is also cooperation with other companies, because the problem has been recently, earlier, that we have always just competed with each other. Why don't we do cooperation? Maybe we don't get the full profit, but then we all get at least a little. And then especially cooperation between the national borders, that makes really a sense. As for example, Estonian company can say that to their customer that when they are flying in Finland, there is a place that where they should go if they have some problems, or call them. And same thing opposite, that why don't we in Finland market Estonian company in the same way, that when they are flying in Estonia and you have some problems, just contact them, they are good people. And still to go forward into the future, the very main thing is to follow up with the new trends and technologies. And then the reaction time is very critical. So when something new is happening, you should be there within the first people. So now we are talking about the light aircraft pilot license, lighter Part M regulations which are coming in a few moments, and then the question is the UAVs, or unmanned aircraft systems. And then, like my managing director is saying, that to all these problems, that the money is not really a problem. The problem is how to get the money into aviation. You can see that money is not a problem when you go to the Finnish coastline and see all the yachts and sailboats in the harbors. So there are, if we even get a little share of that money what is spent in there, we are in good shape. So what we have done in Finland then, I would say that we can summarize our strategy, the motto that we do the things that the others don't. The important functions for our survival has been, are, and still are, flexibility within the company, meaning that even though we have several organizations, we have ground handling, we have maintenance, we have continuing airworthiness management, etc. But we all do all things. So if needed, the Part M people or continuing airworthiness people, they do ground handling or they do some administrative work on a maintenance side. Then also the flexibility goes to the working hours and times and also to traveling. So we have said that we cannot deny any work that is asked to do in the evening time or during the weekends if needed. And also we need to travel to get the work done. Very good example for this is that there was last summer there was a customer calling from Sweden and asking that on a Friday morning that if we could make a service for their aircraft and during the weekend, so they need to get the aircraft back flying on a Monday, and we said yes, and because of the local maintenance provider there in Sweden said that no, we don't work during the weekend. Just please come back on Monday morning. Then they decided to fly the aircraft all over to Finland, so we were able to make the maintenance in Helsinki, and the customer was very, very satisfied in that case. Then what we have also done is that we have expanded our scope of technical services. We have now taken part with the ultralight aircrafts, and also we have added we are constantly adding some new aircraft types to our scope of approval. And there's just a couple of those, like these Partenavias 2-engine aircraft, Extreme Air aerobatic aircraft, and Stemme, which is a motor glider. And then we have, of course, created some new services. We have now started to do aircraft sales. We are marketing the German Aquila aircraft. And then, and like I said earlier, that we have now started cooperation with the Promair maintenance with the design organization. So that is something that we're going to develop more. Earlier, we just made minor modifications directly through EASA. And then what comes to the AOC operations, the sentence in brackets means that goes to the maintenance in a way that we were suffering that in some point that we didn't get enough maintenance work. So then we decided, why don't we fly ourselves, so then we can get some maintenance work to our maintenance people. And but that's only a half of the truth. Of course, there was a market and a question needed for sightseeing flights, because no one was doing that in Finland at all. So we were basically the first one within 10 years that started to do sightseeing flights again in Finland. And that is going pretty well. Next summer we are planning to expand to Lahti and Savonlinna, probably. We'll see how it goes, but all the planning looks good at this moment. And then also we are heavily considering to take a part to the line and taxi flight operations, as there is a lot of lacking service in that area too. There is especially the line flights across the Finland. There are basically there are not any of that kind of. So there's some kind of market that we are investigating at this moment. So, and then what all we have done, we have created high-end contacts to the airport cities and also to Finavia. So basically we have found out that that's the only way to influence and to have some changes in the general aviation, that we go directly to the top and then we talk to them, and maybe something happens and maybe not. And then we've also taken our own part with future technologies. In fact, at this moment, they are having a grand opening of UAV or UAS test center in Mikkeli Airport, and our managing director is over there, and he will be here tomorrow to talk more about the UAS operations. And then finally, the list is that, as said earlier, the cooperation is very important. So there are some companies listed that we do tight cooperation in different ways, and that has shown up good results in our work. But anyhow, with the above actions, we can survive. But the sad truth is that with only general aviation, the company cannot grow, or to have some growing in financially and physically, you basically need to get involved with the airline business, because the general aviation just don't have enough volume in Finland for growing. So, and we have done a lot, and we're still gonna do a lot, but it doesn't avoid us to do something else too. So we are always open for new proposals and ready to discuss new possibilities. So if you have any, just let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Heikki. And now if there are any questions, please ask them. If not, then I will ask one. And we in Estonia have the same problem, that the fuel price 100 LL is too high. And what do you think? Is there an alternative way, STCs for the aircraft or other options?
Well, there are STCs available, but the problem with the current STC is that it only allows the 1% of alcohol in a fuel, so it doesn't really work. I see the trend in Finland that the people are moving into diesel engines, which allows them to use the jet fuel, and then also the Rotax engines in an ultralight, and also on type certified aircraft, they are allowed to use a real 95 octane auto fuel, so no gas. So I would say the 100 LL will disappear in some years, but still, my opinion is that as long as there are people using that, the availability should be there. So it's not the right way to go forward that they get rid of the fuel and then people are forced to change their aircraft and the engine types. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Heikki.
All right, thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Okay.
Our next presenter will be Mr. Darius Rudinskas from Vilnius Gediminas Technical University, Aviation Industry Perspective in Lithuania. Darius is Deputy Director for Studies at Antanas Gustaitis Aviation Institute. His main task is the overall organization of aviation studies and monitoring of study program implementation at the Institute. He has defended his doctoral dissertation, Design of an Unmanned Aerial Vehicle Flight Parameter Data Transmission. He has been also working as an associate professor at the Department of Avionics. So, Mr. Rudinskas, the floor is yours.
So, thank you for the presenter. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and I would like to do a presentation about aviation industry perspectives in Lithuania. My presentation consists of two parts. One part about overview of Lithuanian civil aviation, and second part about preparation of specialists for aviation industry. So, what can do with our airports in Lithuania during last 2 years? In Lithuania, we have 3 international airports: it's Vilnius Airport, Kaunas Airport, and Palanga Airport. And these airports was connected in one organization, and we have Lithuanian airports. And we have also one airport in Šiauliai, and this airport is interest when in this airport work our militaries. It's airport, civil and military airport. So what's happened with Lithuanian airports created Lithuanian Airports Organization. This organization was created when to increase quality of service. An example, before this organization was situation, in the example, security guy. In Vilnius, security guys has uniform. In Kaunas or Palanga, security guys have Adidas or another uniform. So today we have one concept of this aviation personnel for servicing personnel, and it's increase quality of service. We think that it's help. Also, this Lithuanian Airports Organization working with strategy concept, that all airports quality is the same, service is the same in all airports. So, small statistic, the first half this years we had in all airports about 2 million passengers, about 24,000 flights. We working with 19 airlines. We have flights to 57 cities, to 68 airports, and 26 countries. And we think that this stuff to conclude our airports in one organization, it's good, and we will nice statistic. In this slide we see statistic from 2003 years until now, and we will see that passengers in Lithuanian airports growing every year. We can see only in crisis time was gap, and after crisis passengers in Lithuanian go up. And in this year we hope that we will have about 4 million passengers in our airport. Next step about our civil aviation, air navigation service providers. We have 3 air navigation service providers. One is Air Navigation Service, a state company. Another company is Lithuanian Hydrometeorological Service. This company takes service for meteorological data, it's Meteor data. And another, it's not company, but also very important organization is Lithuanian Armed Force. And also we have, this company takes some navigation service for military. So what's happened with our airspace? We will see in this graph some statistics from 2030 years until now, and we will see that in our airspace flight number is growing every year, and this last 2 columns is last day statistics, and we will, until end this year, we will have about 230,000 flights during Lithuanian airspace. So in Lithuanian we have a lot of many civil aviation carriers. In principle we have now 10 companies one company is small, biggest companies. And it's interesting that in Vilnius, every company have 1 or 2 planes, another planes flying every world. We can see some planes in Spain, in another countries, and this business is very it's very expensive and every smart and change and every month. So now we have 10 companies. Principal, these companies don't have regular flight only in charters, and in some segment in this sector is. So about our Lithuanian aircraft fleet, I show its 5 most popular airplanes in charters companies. Example, Boeing 737, Airbus A319 or 320, AT40, Hawker, Bombardier. And also we have big number of small airplanes like Cessnas, like gliders on other airplanes which are used for training or for local flights. Some statistics what is stay under vision in 2015. We have 10 certified aviation enterprise. We have 4 international airports, 51 aerodromes, 778 civil aircraft, 1 approved aviation manufacturer company, 1 design company, 20 approved maintenance organizations, 3 air navigation service providers, 28 accredited training institutions, about 1,300 valid civil aviation specialist licenses, 1 aviation medical center, 7 aviation medical doctors, and 20 aero clubs. It's all aviation industry according CA supervisions. So, what's happened? Aviation business is very expensive, and some companies have problem, and he should be closed. We can write also 1 name. So, in Lithuania we have principle the same situation. We had 3 companies, 3 national regular flight companies, and these companies was closed. But if you will see, we have 10 companies which fly only with charters, and this company is growing every year, and with him it's okay. So about what's happened in Lithuania during this 50 years, we can see that in 2001, 2005, and 2009 years we had aviation staff, employers, and profits was not big, but after 2040 years, our 3 companies generate about 1,200,000 million liters. And in these 3 companies worked about 1,700 employees. What's happened? During this change, that companies worked not in local area, but in all world, increase this numbers. So what is our impact to aviation industry? We are 1 university. Principally, we are 2nd university in Lithuania and 1st university in Lithuania who have Aviation Institute. And our structure is for preparation of aviation specialists is next. We have 3 departments: Department for Avionics, Department for Aviation Mechanics, and Departments of Aviation Technologies. This department work with students in high graduation level. And for practical training, we have departments which working according to EASA requirements. So it's air traffic control practical training unit, flight training unit, and for maintenance we have aircraft maintenance service under EASA Part 145 requirements. And for aviation specialist qualification improvement, we have Aviation Specialist Qualification Improvement Center. So our study model is the same like in Bologna process. First level is bachelor level, second master, and third level is doctoral. And for aircraft pilots and air traffic controllers, we have integrated studies. And the studies, duration of the studies is 5 years. And after the studies, our students have capability to go doctoral studies. So short about our departments. In aviation, Department of Aviation Mechanics, we have 3 level. All 3 level of studies is bachelor, master and degree, and bachelor in aviation mechanics, master also in the same program, and doctoral degree in mechanics engineering. And for research field is aircraft structure, investigation and improvement of aerodynamic calculation, and drones technology and modeling. Department of Avionics have also 3 type of studies: bachelor is avionics, master electronics engineering and specialization avionics, doctoral degrees in transport engineering. And my field of research, we concentrated more in new technologies of drones and drones using in the business. So Department of Avionics have also 2 study types: integrated studies, aircraft piloting and air traffic controllers. And we have new study programs, aviation management. This program started this year. And my field of research is the same as drone technologies and flight control technologies and drone integration in the common airspace. So for practice and for aircraft maintenance service, we have aircraft maintenance service according EASA 145 requirements. And for engineering practical training according EASA 147 requirements also we have. So we have some laboratories for aviation mechanics. In these laboratories we can see engines, aircraft systems, composite materials, or aerodynamics, it's wings and other components. In the avionics laboratory we have drone technology. We have equipment of avionics, some plane components, some plane systems, and other. We have our own airfield. In this airfield, our pilot and our air traffic controllers did practice. Principally, every summer we living in this airfield. Our flight training base consists of single-engine aircraft Cessnas, and we have one twin-engine aircraft, this Piper Seneca. And for helicopter pilots, we have 2 helicopters Cabri G2. Also, we have flight simulator FNTP2 MCC. This simulator is for pilot training. For air traffic controllers training, we have also simulator. For this simulator, I should say big thanks for our air navigation service. It's modern, new simulator. About our profile in research field, we work with UAVs airfoil characteristics, some aerodynamics calculations. And another thing from electronics, we working with UAV and control process analysis, and UAV design and flight testing, post-flight analysis, and another thing. For our scientifics, we have 2 journals. One journal is for young researchers. Second journal, aviation, is for our scientifics and for all who can print scientific article. So what we did new in our institute, we built new simulator and laboratory facility, and we will increase our quality in the study process. In this building, we will come in next year, I hope. So also we have Kyviškės airfield reconstruction project. This project is big for us and for our country, but step by step we will do this project in reality. So our work is licensed. We have all needed license for our job, our works. We have license for aerodrome, for airplane, for our study programs. And we have several audits from EASA, European Aviation Safety Agency, and next audit will be in next week for FSTD simulator. So, thank you. Short about our institute and about our aviation industry in Lithuania.
Thank you, Darius. And are there any questions? If not, then as a tradition, I will ask one. And the question is, you mentioned that there were airlines which bankrupted during the years, and how this affected the aviation training in your institution?
Principle, we don't see it, this effect, because bankrupted airlines had some students only from our institute, and student is young man and have very fast oriented in new aircraft. We have another point with maintenance service. In Lithuania, we have some big maintenance service providers like FL Techniques and Kaunas Aircraft Maintenance Service, which working with Ryanair and have big hangar in Kaunas. But these companies, like our students, and very, very big number of students worked in these companies, but not in our regular flight companies.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now our next speaker will be Colonel Tadeusz Zielinski, Associate Professor from Polish Air Force, from National Air Defense Institute, Defense University in Warsaw. Tadeusz has graduated from Polish Air Force Academy in Dublin, and he is currently adjunct head of the Air Operations Branch in Aviation and Air Defense Institute. So, Colonel Zielinski, please.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Colonel Zielinski from Aviation and Air Defense Institute, which is the part of the Management and Command Faculty in our National Defense University. And first of all, it's a great pleasure for me to be here and present information related to our Polish aviation. Of course, it's very difficult to say during the 30 minutes about the aviation everywhere, also in Poland. So please give me an hour. I'm trying to finish this presentation. So my proposal is as follows. Just a few words about the beginnings of Polish aviation, post-war progress, and then I will focus on transformation on Polish aviation in a few dimensions, mostly in military aviation, civil aviation, aviation and the industry, and of course a few words about the education in our country related to aviation. So let's start with the beginnings. I would say that, as in many countries all over the world, the development of aviation in Poland started during the interwars period, when our country regained independence in 1918. By the way, yesterday was our Independence Day. However, the origins of the Polish aviation sector date back to period immediately preceding the outbreak of the First World War, and in Aviata, a plant manufacturing aircraft under a license of Farmand, which was established in 1910. The first aircraft plant established by state was state-owned aircraft plant in Polish Państwowe Zakłady Lotnicze, and you can see the abbreviation in front of the aircraft, I mean PZL. In 1929, Polish Airlines were established as a result of the merger of companies formerly operating in the transport sector. In 1930, the newly established company joined the IATA and launched its services as an international carrier. As the example of Polish contribution to the development of the international aircraft industry at that time was the V-shaped tail arrangement designed by engineer Jerzy Rudnicki and first time utilized in the Lublin R-19 aircraft in 1934. What is interesting, after the Second World War, the V-shaped tail unit was proliferating by the foreign designers in a completely new generation of planes, including, for example, US Bonanza, French-made Fuga Master, and first of all, Lockheed Martin F-170 Nighthawk. What else? For the Polish aviation sector, the period between the wars was also marked by several spectacular successes in the sporting arena, which lent the keen public interest in new industry. One of them was the victory of Polish pilot in 1936 during the Challenge International Aviation Contest. Another was the non-stop transatlantic flight from Senegal to Brazil. Both these successes were achieved using Polish RWD aircraft. During the whole period, I mean between 1918 and 1939, domestic aircraft industry managed to produce more than 4,000 planes and nearly 1,400 gliders, and as well as nearly 4,000 aircraft engines and propellers. It's also worth reminding that at least 12,000 highly qualified technicians and engineers were employed at various industrial and research labs across the country. The spare output capacity developed by Polish aircraft industry branch allowed our country to sell more than 200 planes on overseas markets, and the major customers at that time was Romania, Turkey, Bulgaria, Smaller deliveries of aircraft equipment were also sent to Brazil, Estonia, Czech Republic, and Yugoslavia. In the aftermath of the Second World War, the Polish aircraft industry was left in shutters, facing a serious shortage of highly skilled workers. The already difficult situation was additionally aggravated by the politically motivated decision to close all domestic research facilities and design bureaus. Having been forced by the communist Soviet Union authorities, Poland was obliged to launch the production of Soviet-designed aircraft and helicopters. The Soviet-designed PO-2 utility plane was the first post-war aircraft which rolled out from the Polish aviation factories. During the next years, our aircraft industry was charged with manufacture of the Soviet design Mikoyan, MiG-15, MiG-17 jet fighters, and more than 1,500 this kind of planes were produced. Stalin's death caused that demand for warplanes decreased and attention turned to civilian aviation. The Yakolev-12 reconnaissance aircraft or Antonov-12 multi-percept aircraft, as well as MIL, Mi-1 and Mi-2 light helicopters were sent to production. Next, the authorities allowed our aviation designers and domestically designed aircraft and helicopters. The large-scale production of the first Polish post-war aircraft, the UNAK-2 trainer, was launched. The aircraft was designed by engineer Tadeusz, who also took credit for designing the TS-8BS, next-generation training plane designed to meet requirements set by our Polish Air Force. The TS-8BS was the first metal-designed aircraft in post-war Poland, which was also driven by domestically designed and built aviation piston engine. It was the most commonly used military training plane till 1967, when it had been replaced by the TS-11 Iskra Spark, first next-generation jet-propelled aircraft, also designed by engineer Tadeusz. Many different versions of this kind of aircraft, TS-11 jet trainer, are still being used by our Polish Air Force. Many decommissioned Iskra trainers were also sold abroad, with the US as a major customer, where they take part in numerous aviation air shows. Okay. In 1959, Council of Mutual Economic Cooperation took a decision to launch in Poland the production of lightweight utility planes. The PZL-104 Wilga multi-purpose aircraft was rolled out in the 60s. This particular aircraft was capable to attract foreign customers. It's worth reminding that modern, significantly improved this aircraft variants are still being manufactured and sold, including to foreign customers. Up to date, over 1,000 pieces of this kind of aircraft were manufactured. From the 70s, agriculture aviation have become a Polish specialization. Polish engineers were able to design the PZL-101 Gawron agriculture planes. Its agricultural crop duster version was also equipped with a chemical container capable of storing 600 kilos of various agents and substances. In 1974, quite daring attempt was made to develop the jet-propelled agricultural aircraft, PZL M15 Belfegor. It was the first jet agricultural aircraft and only one in its class so far. Another Polish products related to agriculture aircraft are PZL 106 Kruk, Raven, and PZL M15, 18 Dromadaire, Camel. Success of the Camel at domestic and international market prompted the designers to develop a family of a new generation M18s based agricultural aircraft. At least 700 of this kind of aircraft was delivered to customers, and almost 90% of the production were sent abroad. And nowadays, this aircraft, I mean AIM-18, is the most proliferated agricultural aircraft in the world. Aircraft is also used as a fire extinguisher. Gaining experience, Polish engineers designed in the 80s the PZL W3 Falcon, a medium-weight utility cargo and passenger helicopter, including its naval version as well as multi-purpose military helicopters. Orders for this kind of helicopter have been placed not only from domestic customers, but also from overseas, such as Burma, Pakistan, and India. Design works on turbopropelled trainer were also successfully completed with the production of the PZL-130 Orlik. The first aircraft entered its service, with the Polish Air Forces in 1984. Nowadays, after many improvements, this kind of jet train aircraft is still used by Polish Air Force. The 80s was a period for the rearming of our military aviation planes of the third generation, MiG-23 Flogger, Su-22 Fighter, MiG-29 Fulcrum, and of course, helicopters Mi-24 Heinz. It's also estimated that more than 6,000 gliders were produced, and at least 3,500 models were delivered abroad in the whole post-war period. Polish pilots managed to gain a wide range of most distinguished rewards at various international aircraft competition venues. One can also remind that the PW5 world-class glider plane, launched in 1992, was selected as the best Olympic glider by the International Federation of Aviation. The restoration of our aviation sector wouldn't be possible without the creation of the network called a Transport Equipment Enterprise, which manufactured a wide range of products related to transport, not only helicopters and airplanes, but also, for example, motorcycles. The major companies in the transport equipment enterprises were, as you can see on the slide, Okęcie Warsaw, Świdnik, Mielec, Kalisz, and Rzeszów. These are Polish cities where they were located. For example, Okęcie, it manufactured sport, training, agricultural, and multitask aircraft like mentioned by me, PZL-104 Wilga or PZL-106 Kruk. Świdnik, in 1958, the company launched the production of the Mi-1 and Mi-2 helicopters under the Russian license. In the 80s, it started to produce our own production, W3 Falcon. Mielec, it manufactured aircraft under a Russian license, Antonov biplane, MiG-15 and MiG-17 jet planes. In the 60s, it launched the production on its own aircraft, TS-11 Iskra. Kalisz, it has produced aircraft engines and flap steering systems for the passengers aircraft. And the last, Rzeszów, the company produced engines for the MiG-15 and MiG-17, also airplanes and turbopropeller engines. What about the civil aviation? By the end of the 80s, the only Polish carrier was state enterprise Polish Lot Airlines. Similarly to other flagship carriers in different countries, it had a privileged position, arising both from a lack of competition as well as financial assistance from the government. The main Polish airport was Warsaw-Okęcie Airport, which also the main base for our national carrier, LOT. In addition to the Warsaw Airport, 7 Polish airports was admitted to international traffic. However, their importance were of marginal. Their main role was to transport passengers to the Warsaw-Okęcie hub. In the late 80s, there were some changes in Polish aviation market because a new company was established called Przedsiębiorstwo Państwowe Porty Lotnicze, and what is important, National Air Traffic Agency responsible for air traffic control. From 1989, and this is the time of, in our country, transformation, I mean political and economic transformation, legal monopoly of Polish airline was abolished. From then, anyone, after obtaining an appropriate licenses, could start a service in airline industry on our territory. After 1990, the process of adapting Polish aviation services industry to operate within a free market economy started. In 1992, Polish LOT airlines have been transformed into company wholly owned by the state treasury. Aircraft of Soviet production were replaced with the American planes, medium and long ranges, respectively Boeing 737 and Boeing 767, and turboprop ATR designed primarily to serve domestic routes. In later period, they were also purchased additionally Brazilian Embraers aircraft to serve European routes. On this slide, you can see lost chances of our aviation industry. There are a few examples. I think that the IRIDA I-2022 was the most important because in the 90s there was a big discussion about new Polish aircraft supporting our ground forces. And there was a project of I-22 IRIDA. It was really flying aircraft. However, there wasn't political will and I would say funds to implement this project. The another was the PZL 230 Scorpion. It was the aircraft, it should be the aircraft for Polish Air Force, but the project was cancelled in 1994 due to the lack of the funds. Another was the Cobra. It was, I would say, the alternative for the Scorpion. Some investigation with the models were made in wind tunnels, but financial consideration didn't allow for further research. So let's move to the transformation of Polish aviation, and I will start with the military aviation. Talking about the transformation of military aviation in Poland, we should distinguish a few factors which were the triggers of the changes. So there is no doubt that our joining to NATO was the principal factor which caused the necessity of the changes, especially in context the modernization or replacement our obsolete equipment. It was and it is strongly associated with our contribution to the alliances and coalition fulfillment of commitments. We should possess modern aviation equipment in order to support international and national security environment. The next step was obtaining experiences and I would say lessons learned from our participation in abroad mission, especially in Afghanistan, Iraq, and Chad, because demanding operational and natural environment of missions have forced political and military decision makers to take decision about the buying new equipment, for example, Mi-17s, and of course modernizing existing aircraft. It wouldn't be possible without stable economic growth, guaranteeing now about 2% of gross domestic product on military. So we could open new modernization programs related to military aviation. Of course, we also could buy a new equipment. And last, I think that changes in international security environment, I mean, for example, crisis in the Ukraine. This crisis accelerated, for example, our decision about buying new combat support helicopters and replacement of the Mi-24 helicopters. So nowadays, after the reorganization in command and control structure, in Polish military aviation we have 4 air wings, which are located in Polish Air Force. There are 2 tactical air wings. One of them is operating MiG-29 and Su-22. The second one is operating the newest F-16s. We have also Naval Aviation Brigade, which is mainly equipped with the helicopters and light transportation aircraft. We have 1 airlift wing, which operates medium tactical airlifters like Gaisa C-295. What else? We have also Army Aviation, consisting of the 2 brigades, the 1st Army Aviation Brigade and the Air Cavalry Brigade, which operate helicopters like Mi-8, Mi-17, Mi-24, or W3 Sokół, I mean Falcon. And of course, we bought a new equipment from into Polish military aviation, especially I would say that transporters like Gaisa, and of course F-16, which was chosen in 2002. And now we have 3 squadrons of this kind of aircraft. Relatively new homemade product is SW4 Puszczyk. It's Polish light single-engine multi-purpose helicopter manufactured by our Świdnik. And the SW4 was further developed by Świdnik and corporate parent, I mean Augusta Westland, into an optionally piloted vehicle, which is called Solo. So what about the nearest and longer future in context of Polish aviation? First of all, we need new trainer jets, because we need to train our pilots. And last year we signed a contract with Alenia Armemaci for 8 M346 Armemaci. I think it will be a generation jump in context of training jets. We choose new combat support helicopters from Airbus Military, as you can see on the slide. And as I said, we accelerated our program for modernization, maybe not modernization, for replacement our Mi-24. In long perspective, we need to exchange our MiG-29s and Su-22. And of course, probably there will be new aircraft, but of course, these are politicians' decisions. A big or huge program will be buying of the unmanned aircraft system, and of all class, I mean the 1st, the 2nd, and the 3rd class. Some of them will be ordered on open market, but some of them will be from the national industry. All these activities are related with the fulfillment of alliances and coalition commitments, I mean with collective defense of our country and of course our alliances. So let's turn to civil aviation, and similarly to military aviation, we can observe factors which affect transformation processes. They are not only connected with the Polish aviation, civil aviation, but in wider context also with European and global market. So the first, I think it's a progressing liberalization and the regulation of the aviation sector, in which the European Union, of course, plays a leading role. Liberalization packages led the European Union transportation market, also in Poland, to the most liberalized market in the world. The regulation and liberalization are mainly abolishing national barriers, opening the aviation market for the competition. Globalization and consolidation of airlines is other trend, which is mainly visible through the, I would say, global alliances like Star Alliance, SkyTeam, and OneWorld, which serve the majority of global passenger. In this area, this is also a number of mergers and acquisition in the European market sector, aviation sector. Polish lot belongs to the Star Alliance. I think that the most important phenomena in our national aviation market, but also in many European countries, is the development of the low-cost carriers, especially in passenger transport. We can observe that the rapid growth of low-cost carriers greatly increased the popularity of travel, especially among the price-sensitive clients, influence the strategies of the traditional carriers, and lead to the intensive development of the regional airports. Liberalization and the regulation processes led to several areas of competition, also in Polish market, and we have competition between, I would say, legacy carriers, also between low-cost carrier, and of course between legacy and low-cost carriers. And the last but not the least are trends based on the changes of the socio-economic factors. And I would like to draw your attention especially to economic development, because you know there is strong cooperation between the gross domestic products and air traffic increase or decrease. Also, incidental events like terrorist attack, threats of epidemic or eruption of volcano will influence the aviation market also in Poland. But I think that the most important from our national perspective was joining the European Union, because it was a trigger for opening the market. So what have been the main changes on Polish aviation market? First of all, the dynamics of air traffic significantly accelerated. At the turn of the century, air traffic was increasing at average rate, I would say 7 to 8% per year. Since 2004, it was the date of our joining European Union, the number of passengers served by Polish airports have been growing about the 20 to 30% per year. The biggest beneficiaries of liberalization of the Polish aviation market were, I would say, regions located away from the Warsaw capital of Poland. For example, although in 2012, Warsaw airports managed to serve 100% more passengers than in 2003, in regional airports, this number has increased 7 times. It's also important to note that the 2 new airports have recently started their businesses in Poland. What is more, existing airports have recently made significant improvements, infrastructural investment. As a result, they have increased capacity and, of course, modernized their services. It's estimated that aviation market in Poland contributes nearly 1% of gross domestic product and significant amounts to state budget in form of the task. According to Oxford Economics, air transport also supports nearly 70,000 jobs in Poland, including 20,000 highly productive direct employees. On the next slide, you have few information, short analysis, statistics. So as you can see, for example, in 2014, in Polish airports handled over 27 million passengers, and it was an 8.3% increase comparing to the previous year. Still dominant role amongst airports plays Warsaw-Chopin, which handled in 2014 more than 10 million passengers. And then we have other regional airports like Kraków, Gdańsk, Katowice, and Wrocław. These are the biggest. And we have the third group of airports, which I would say they serve less than 1 million passengers per year. As you can see on this line, the main players on our aviation market are Ryanair, Polish Airline, Slot, Wizz Air, and Lufthansa. So, as you can see, we have 2 low-cost carriers and 2 legacy carriers. And this slide shows the trend related to increasing role of low-cost carriers in our national market. It is green color, comparing to legacy blue color and charter gray color. It is expected that this situation will be deepened. So I would summarize the transformation of civil aviation market in a few points. Firstly, liberalization through the European Union accession has triggered robust growth of air traffic in Poland, which proved to be particularly dynamic in the regional airports. Secondly, passengers have gained a new attractive price offer to many new destinations. And thirdly, the economy is also a beneficiary of air transport liberalization in Poland. So let's move to the industry. On this slide, there are visible strengths and opportunities of Polish aviation industry. I would emphasize, for example, from strengths, long-standing tradition, and of course, existing or aviation cluster. If we talked about the opportunities, the most important are, of course, development or research activities and development of new kind of products like aeroplanes, like helicopters, and so on. So talking about the aviation industry in Poland, there are over 120 aviation and aviation-related companies and over 20,000 employees in total operating in Poland. The majority of these are small and medium-sized enterprises, companies with foreign capital, and a small group of enterprises with minority state hold sharing. Around 80% of aviation plants are located in southeastern of Poland, in one of the 3 aviation clusters. So operating plants are specialized in the production of aircraft like agricultural, training, executive, also helicopters, gliders, sub-assemblies like aluminum and composite, and of course accessories. Nearly 90% of the production is exported, for example, to USA, Venezuela, Indonesia, Italy, Greece, Canada, Spain, Germany, South Korea, and Vietnam. As I said, we have 3 main aviation clusters, and the biggest one is the so-called aviation wall, and it's the, as I said, southeastern of Poland. And this association is composed of more than 100 regional members, airplanes manufacturers, their parts and components, suppliers, companies involved in research activities, logistics, and so on and so on. We have also another 2 aviation clusters like Wielkopolskie cluster and Silesia cluster. On this slide, you can see selected aviation and aviation-related companies with foreign capital. I would say that the advanced level of the processes used in the Polish aviation sector is best illustrated by participation of Avivo Poland and GE ADC Poland in the development of the innovative jet engine, I mean GEnx, which are used in the state-of-the-art Boeing, for example, 787 Dreamliner and Boeing 747. I would like also to emphasize that our national research strategy of aviation industry assumes that in Poland, ultimately designed and manufactured will be, for example, multi-purpose helicopters for the next generation technology. What else? New generation aircraft engines and their modules. Also sub-assemblies and components Also, unmanned aircraft system, which is the big market for everyone, I would say. Also, light aircraft of general purpose and specialized, also simulators. Important part of our aviation industry are military aircraft works, responsible maybe for modernization and repair of aircraft. They are, for example, responsible for modernization our MiG-29, our Su-22 Fighter, Iskra, and so on and so on. The development of aviation sector wouldn't have been possible without qualified workers. I mean, over 1,000 engineers graduate from Polish technical universities every year. Highly developed university and vocational education system and long-standing tradition contribute to the quality of the aviation personnel. Moreover, there are a lot of initiatives leading to closer cooperation between industry, self-governments, and of course, universities. On the slide, you can see selected education and research centers which are connected with the aviation sector. Sorry. If we talk about the military education related to the aviation, we have Polish Air Force Academy, which is responsible for the training our cadets in many dimensions. You can see on the slide the educational offer of this academy. As many other schools in Poland, also military, they may teach not only military guys, but also civilians. So as you can see, there is subjects like logistics or national security. So what will be the future of Polish aviation? I don't know. I think that will be brilliant. So on this slide, you can see the relatively new products from our aviation industry. What is interesting, they are not from the big, very big companies, but mainly from the small and medium-sized enterprises. So you have examples of the Orca trainer aircraft, Flarislar, it's under construction, I would say. This is the business jet aircraft. Ultralight aircraft like Topaz. Now, of course, we have a strong tradition or big tradition related to production of the gliders, and you can see on this video one of the examples of this kind of glider. So, to summarize, I would say that as a Poland, we have a long tradition related to the aviation from the interwars period. There is no doubt that our aviation supports our national economy. It is the important part of the economy. What is interesting, as I said, the main role plays not bigger companies, but I would say that small and medium-sized enterprises. And in order to develop our Polish aviation, there is a need for strong cooperation between the aviation industry and research and educational centers. So thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, I try to answer.
So thank you, Tadeusz. This was a very detailed description how the Polish aviation industry works, has developed. And I believe that during the coffee break and the evening event, you have more time to ask Tadeusz, especially related to your interest. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Karin, thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, now it's coffee break, but please, please, please be back at 5 to 5 so that we can start with the presentation 5 prompt. Stipendiumid. Sul on mingi nimekiri ka või? Eelikatsid Karin. Tema tuleb kohale ja loeb ise.
Sa teed sissejuhatuse, et hakkame, sa teed ju ütled, et
me loeme eesti keeles.
Me anname stipendiumid üle, et siis, kui sa seda ütled, siis ütle seda ka, et sponsorid tuleksid siia. Anne on meile paberi, aga sponsorid võiksid kärtsuda. Okei. Nojah, seda ma ütlen juba kõik eesti keeles. See vooding, eks ole, jah. Ja sina annad teisele või? Ma ei teagi. Aga ma võin anda ka. On kõik jalga lastud ja oleks kõige parem. Okei. Ma pean ainult seda veel, kuidagi läks meelest ära, et see kotka üleandmine ei ole teksti.